What if I told you that one sentence, just a few simple words, can instantly reveal whether a man truly wants you or is just passing time? Most people spend months, even years, trying to decode mixed signals, hoping actions will finally match promises. But the truth is, you don't need to chase clarity when you know what to listen for. Today, I'm going to show you how to stop guessing, stop settling, and finally understand the difference between being wanted and being chosen. My love, there is a single sentence, a simple one, that, when a man truly means it, can shift everything between you. It has the power to turn uncertainty into clarity and transform a man who lingers at the edges into someone fully present and deeply invested in you. Before I reveal what that sentence is, you need to understand something essential, something that will change how you see relationships from this moment forward. I'm going to speak to you honestly, without dressing things up. At this stage in life, truth matters more than comfort. So here is your first real lesson. If a man shows interest but never truly chooses you, then you must not choose him either. It's that simple. Hold on to that. This isn't about lacking love for yourself. It's about having the emotional awareness to recognize what is real and what is not. And if you stay with me a little longer, you'll begin to understand not only what men say when they are genuinely serious, but also how to recognize in real time whether you are a priority or just an option. And if something I've said already feels familiar to you, even slightly, take a moment to reflect on it. Think about where you are in your life right now, wherever you're listening from, and realize that you are not alone in this experience. There are so many women who are tired of settling for half-effort, mixed signals, and emotional confusion. And if someone close to you needs to hear this truth, share it with her. This isn't just about one person. It's about all of us reclaiming our sense of worth and clarity. After decades of observing relationships, listening to countless stories, and witnessing emotional highs and lows, one thing has become very clear to me. Women are incredibly intelligent. They can solve complex problems, plan ahead, and read situations with remarkable insight. But when it comes to a man they genuinely like, that sharp clarity often fades. And the reason for that is something called confirmation bias. In simple terms, when you like someone, your mind starts looking for evidence that they like you back, even if that evidence is weak or imagined. A late-night message suddenly feels meaningful. A brief look seems like something deeper. A casual, "we'll talk later," begins to sound like a promise. But my love, that is not intuition guiding you. That is your mind creating a story you want to believe. I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying it to wake you up. Because if you truly want a healthy, grounded, and fulfilling relationship, one where you don't feel the need to chase, question, or constantly analyze, then you need to face an uncomfortable truth. A man who genuinely wants you does not leave you guessing. He doesn't disappear and reappear based on convenience. He doesn't keep you in a state of confusion or make you feel like you're waiting for your turn. When a man is truly interested, his actions are steady, clear, and consistent. You won't need to decode his behavior or search for hidden meaning. You will simply know, and that is where everything begins to change. A man who truly wants you doesn't leave you confused or second-guessing yourself. His behavior is steady, his presence is consistent, and most importantly, he makes you feel chosen. Not like you should feel grateful for the bare minimum, like a message he remembered to send. And this isn't just emotional advice or something people say to sound wise. There is real biology behind it. When a man is genuinely emotionally invested, his brain releases chemicals like oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. These create a natural pull toward you. He feels driven to connect, to see you, to spend time with you, and to build something. It's not something he has to be reminded of or pushed into. His own system pulls him closer to you. That's how real desire works. So if you find yourself always being the one who reaches out first, the one trying to keep the conversation alive, the one putting in effort just to stay on his radar, you need to see that clearly. That's not interest. That's convenience. He's not choosing you. He's simply available when he's bored. And you deserve far more than being someone's temporary distraction or backup option. But don't misunderstand this. This doesn't mean you should shut down emotionally or sit back waiting for someone to chase you. This isn't about playing games or following manipulative advice you might see online. It goes much deeper than that. It's about making a firm decision within yourself that your time, your energy, and your self-respect are valuable and not up for negotiation. When you genuinely choose yourself, something shifts. And I'm not talking about vague ideas like energy in a mystical sense. I mean something very real. Your behavior changes. The way you carry yourself changes. You stop tolerating things that don't align with your worth, and that naturally creates confidence. And confidence is one of the most powerful forms of attraction there is. It goes far beyond appearance, beyond clothes, beyond anything superficial. A man can feel when a woman knows exactly who she is, what she wants, and what she refuses to accept. That kind of presence affects him deeply. I've seen this play out countless times. A woman comes in heartbroken because a man she's been talking to for months suddenly disappears. She starts blaming herself, going over every detail, wondering what she did wrong or what she could have done differently to keep him. But eventually, something shifts. She stops chasing. She stops trying to win over someone who isn't showing up for her. Instead, she turns her focus inward, on her own life, her goals, her growth. And then, almost predictably, that same man comes back. But here's the part that matters. By the time he returns, she has changed. She's no longer the same woman who was waiting for his attention. She has rediscovered her own value, and suddenly, his return doesn't feel exciting. It feels irrelevant, because she has already stepped into a stronger version of herself. That is real transformation. It's not about attracting someone back. It's about reaching a point where you no longer accept anything that doesn't meet your standards. You stop trying to fit into someone else's uncertainty, and instead, you only allow people into your life who meet you with clarity and intention. Now, I know part of you is thinking, this all sounds good, but how do I actually recognize when a man is serious? Let's make it practical. When a man is genuinely interested, one of the first signs is that he naturally includes you in his future, even in small ways. He talks about plans that involve both of you, not unrealistic fantasies, but simple, real things. He might mention going somewhere together next weekend or introduce the idea of you meeting people in his life. These small statements matter because they show he sees you as part of what's ahead, not just someone passing through his present moment. Men who aren't serious don't do that. They stay vague. They keep everything in the "we'll see" space. They avoid anything that creates direction. And that uncertainty is your answer. Another strong sign is curiosity. A man who truly cares wants to know you deeply, not just surface-level questions, but things that reveal who you are. He wants to understand your experiences, your thoughts, your dreams, even your fears. But what matters even more is that he remembers. Anyone can ask questions in the moment, but a man who is invested pays attention. He follows up. He brings things back up later. He shows you, through his memory, that what you said mattered. Then there's communication. People often say men aren't expressive, and to some extent that can be true. But when a man genuinely cares, he finds a way to express it. It may not be poetic or overly emotional, but it's clear. He lets you know he enjoys being with you. He tells you he's thinking about you. He doesn't leave you stuck in confusion for months, trying to figure out where you stand. If you're constantly unsure, that uncertainty is already your answer. And when a man is serious about you, he brings you into his world. He introduces you to friends, includes you in his environment, and lets you be seen as part of his life. This isn't random. On a deeper level, men often seek validation from their circle about the woman they're choosing. So if months go by and you remain hidden, if you don't know anyone in his life, that's not about privacy or timing. It's a sign that he doesn't see you as a permanent part of his world. Another thing you need to be careful about is intensity at the beginning. Sometimes everything feels overwhelming right away. Constant messages, compliments, attention. It feels exciting, almost addictive, especially if you've been feeling emotionally unfulfilled for a while. But that kind of intensity is often not love. It's a temporary high. Some men become attached to the feeling of excitement, not the person. And when that initial rush fades, so do they. A man who is emotionally mature doesn't rush like that. He builds connection over time. His interest grows steadily. He's reliable, not unpredictable. He doesn't come in like a spark that burns bright and disappears. He shows up consistently. And here's something that will save you a lot of pain if you truly take it in. Watch how a man treats you once the initial effort phase is over. When he no longer feels the need to impress you, that's when you see who he really is. Does he still show care? Does he respect you? Does he include you and value you? Or does he become distant, careless, or self-centered? Because many people can act well in the beginning, but the right man doesn't treat you well just to win you. He treats you well because that's who he is. And this brings us to something essential: respect. Without respect, nothing meaningful can last. You can have attraction, chemistry, excitement, but without respect, it will eventually break down. A man who respects you listens to you, even when he doesn't agree. He doesn't dismiss your thoughts or make you feel small for having your own perspective. He values your voice, and that is the kind of connection that is real. A man who truly respects you shows it in simple, everyday ways. He values your time, so he doesn't cancel plans at the last minute without a real reason, doesn't keep you waiting unnecessarily, and doesn't ignore you while clearly being active elsewhere. He also protects your image and your dignity. He doesn't speak badly about you behind your back or expose personal details just to entertain others. When you express a boundary, he listens. He doesn't try to twist your emotions or pressure you into accepting something that makes you uncomfortable, and when it matters, he stands beside you. If someone disrespects you, he doesn't stay silent or disappear. He shows through his actions that you matter. Here's something you need to understand deeply. Respect is not something you beg for or negotiate. You define it from the beginning. You decide what is acceptable and what isn't, and then you back that up with your behavior. Words alone don't mean anything if your actions don't match them. Many people say they have standards, but the moment those standards are tested, they abandon them. And then they wonder why they aren't taken seriously. The truth is simple. If you don't honor your own boundaries, no one else will either. So ask yourself honestly, do you live by what you say you deserve? It's easy to say you want respect. It's harder to act in a way that proves you believe it. That means speaking up when something feels wrong. It means stopping someone when they cross a line. And sometimes it means walking away, even when you feel attached. That's the part people struggle with the most. Letting go of someone you feel drawn to is never easy, especially when there's chemistry or shared moments that feel meaningful. But staying with someone who doesn't truly value you is far more damaging. That kind of pain doesn't hit all at once. It slowly wears you down. It chips away at your confidence, makes you question your worth, and leaves you feeling smaller over time. Leaving, on the other hand, hurts sharply, but it frees you. It gives you clarity, space, and eventually peace. Now let's come back to what I mentioned earlier, the sentence that can reveal something deeper when a man genuinely means it. You have to understand the context first. Many men grow up being taught to hide vulnerability. They avoid expressing deeper emotions because they don't want to appear weak. So when a man actually opens up in a meaningful way, it matters. One powerful statement, often overlooked, is when he says that being with you makes him want to improve himself. When a man admits that your presence inspires him to grow, to become better, that's not something he says casually. That's him recognizing your impact on his life. It means you're not just someone he enjoys passing time with. You're someone who challenges him, motivates him, and brings out a stronger version of himself. But don't misunderstand this. Just because he says something meaningful doesn't mean you should immediately attach yourself to him or assume everything is guaranteed. Words can be sincere, but they still need to be supported by consistent action. Some people use beautiful language to create emotional connection while they're still unsure of what they want. They say the right things, but when it comes to commitment, they hesitate. That's why you always need to look beyond what is said and pay attention to what is done. There are other phrases that can reveal genuine interest too. When a man says he's never met anyone like you, and he truly means it, it shows that you've left a unique impression on him. You've stepped outside of the patterns he's used to. But again, context matters. If it's said too early without real connection, it may just be a line. If it comes after time, shared experiences, and genuine understanding, it carries weight. Another simple but meaningful statement is when he tells you he trusts you. Trust is not something easily given. When a man says that, he's allowing you into a deeper emotional space. He sees you as someone safe, someone who won't use his vulnerability against him. That level of openness is significant. And then, of course, there are the classic words people wait for, expressions of liking or love. But these words have lost value for many because they're often said out of habit rather than truth. So instead of focusing only on hearing them, pay attention to when they are said, how they are said, and what actions follow. Real connection isn't built on constant emotional highs. It shows itself in everyday moments, in consistency, in how someone treats you when things are ordinary or even difficult. When a man wants to bring you into his family or meet yours, that's another step forward. It shows he's thinking beyond just the two of you and considering how you fit into his wider life. But even then, don't rush ahead in your mind. Take it as a positive sign, but continue to look at the full picture. A question that comes up often is how long it takes for a man to know what he wants. The truth is, there's no universal timeline. Some know quickly, others take longer. But what matters is your timeline. You don't have to wait endlessly for someone to decide. You can be clear about what you want. You can say you're looking for something serious, and if they're not, you can step away. That's not pressure, that's self-respect. And here's something that may feel difficult to hear, but it's important. If a man truly wants a future with you, he doesn't need years to figure it out. He may not rush into big commitments immediately, but he will show direction. He will make it clear that you matter and that he's building something with you. If months or even years pass and nothing moves forward, it's not confusion, it's a decision. He may enjoy your presence, but he's not choosing you in the way you deserve. So ask yourself honestly, how long are you willing to accept less than what you truly want? At some point, you have to choose yourself. And choosing yourself doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means strengthening who you already are. You can't control what someone else feels or does, but you can control how you show up and what you accept. It starts with real self-worth, not the kind based on attention or validation, but something deeper. When you genuinely value yourself, you don't feel the need to constantly check if someone else sees it. You know it, and that changes how you behave. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop overanalyzing silence. You become steady within yourself. This kind of confidence grows over time. It's built through how you treat yourself daily, how you speak to yourself, and the standards you maintain. Each time you protect your peace or walk away from something that doesn't serve you, you reinforce that sense of value. At the same time, you need your own life. Your happiness shouldn't revolve around someone else's attention. When your entire focus is on one person, you lose a part of yourself, and ironically, that makes you less interesting. People are naturally drawn to those who have their own passions, goals, and direction. When you are engaged in your own life, you become more attractive without even trying. Communication also plays a huge role. Expecting someone to read your mind leads to disappointment. If something matters to you, express it clearly and calmly. There's a big difference between blaming and communicating. One pushes people away, the other creates understanding. And don't lose your independence. A relationship should add to your life, not replace it. Keep your friendships, your interests, your identity. When you abandon everything for someone else, you don't strengthen the connection, you weaken yourself. One of the biggest shifts you can make is to stop chasing. Not by playing games, but by stepping back and observing. If you're the only one making effort, something is out of balance. In a healthy connection, both people invest. If you stop initiating and everything fades, then you've learned something important. When you stop chasing, you create space. Space for someone who will meet you with the same level of effort and intention. As long as you're holding on to someone who isn't showing up, you block the possibility of something better. There's a clear difference between attracting and chasing. When you attract, you naturally draw people in because of who you are and how you live. When you chase, you try to convince someone to choose you, and that rarely leads to anything fulfilling. So ask yourself honestly, are you choosing someone, or are you holding on to them out of fear? Real connection comes from two people who are whole on their own, choosing to come together, not from need, not from emptiness, but from a genuine desire to share life. That's where everything changes. You stop asking whether someone will choose you, and instead you start asking whether they are worthy of being chosen by you. And that shift, that quiet, powerful shift, is where true freedom begins. When you really understand what it means to choose instead of chase, your entire approach to love changes. You stop reacting to someone else's behavior and start responding from your own standards. That shift may sound small, but it's powerful. It moves you out of uncertainty and into control. Not control over another person, but control over yourself, your time, and your emotional investment. Most people chase without realizing it. It shows up in subtle ways, overthinking every message, waiting for replies that don't come, making excuses for inconsistent behavior, or trying to be more likable just to keep someone interested. It feels like effort, but underneath it is fear. Fear of losing them, fear of not being enough, fear of being alone. And when decisions are driven by fear, they usually lead to settling. Choosing is different. Choosing comes from clarity. It means you are aware of what you want and what you will not accept. You don't need constant reassurance because your sense of worth isn't dependent on someone else's attention. You're not trying to prove yourself. You're observing. You're noticing how someone treats you, how they show up, how consistent they are. And based on that, you decide whether they deserve a place in your life. There's also a calmness in choosing. When you're not chasing, you don't feel the need to rush things or force outcomes. You allow people to reveal who they are over time. You don't fill in the gaps with imagination or hope. You let actions speak. That alone protects you from a lot of emotional confusion. Another important part of this is understanding that attraction shouldn't cost you your self-respect. If you have to constantly adjust yourself, ignore your boundaries, or accept less than you deserve just to keep someone, then you're not choosing. You're negotiating your worth. And the more you do that, the more you lose connection with yourself. When you start choosing, you naturally become more selective. Not in a harsh or judgmental way, but in a grounded way. You begin to value consistency over intensity, effort over words, and peace over emotional highs and lows. You no longer get easily pulled in by temporary attention or empty promises. You look for stability, honesty, and mutual effort. This also changes how others respond to you. People can sense when someone is chasing versus when someone is grounded in themselves. When you're not trying to win someone over, your presence feels different. You're not available for anything that doesn't align with your standards. And that naturally filters out the wrong people while attracting those who are more aligned with you. It's important to understand that choosing yourself doesn't mean you become closed off or distant. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It simply means you care about yourself enough not to lose yourself in the process of wanting someone else. You can still be open, warm, and interested, but without abandoning your boundaries. There will be moments where this feels uncomfortable, especially if you're used to chasing. Letting go of control, stepping back, and allowing things to unfold can feel unfamiliar. But over time, it becomes natural. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop needing constant validation, and you realize that the right connection doesn't require you to convince, chase, or prove anything. At the core of all this is one simple truth. You don't need to be chosen to feel valuable. You already are. And when you truly believe that, you stop accepting situations where you're treated like an option. You start choosing people who are clear, consistent, and intentional. And more importantly, you choose a life where your peace, your standards, and your self-respect are non-negotiable. When you go deeper into this idea, you start noticing how much of modern dating is built around uncertainty and how easily people get pulled into it. Mixed signals, delayed replies, emotional highs followed by distance. It keeps you hooked because your mind is trying to solve the situation. But real connection isn't a puzzle. It doesn't require constant decoding. The moment you step into a mindset of choosing, you stop playing that exhausting game. You begin to recognize that consistency is not boring, it's rare. Many people are drawn to intensity because it feels exciting, but intensity without stability creates emotional confusion. One day everything feels perfect, the next day you feel distant. That pattern keeps you attached, but it's not healthy. When you choose yourself, you stop confusing emotional roller coasters with genuine connection. You start appreciating calm, steady effort, because that's what actually builds something real. Another shift happens in how you handle silence and distance. Before, silence might have made you anxious. You'd wonder what changed, what you did wrong, or how to fix it. But when you're grounded in your own worth, silence becomes information. It shows you where you stand without needing explanations. Instead of chasing clarity, you accept what is being shown to you and respond accordingly. That alone saves you from investing months or years into something that was never fully there. You also stop overgiving. When you're chasing, you tend to give more than you receive, more attention, more understanding, more patience. You try to compensate for what's missing, hoping it will balance things out. But it never does. It only creates imbalance. Choosing means matching energy, not overextending yourself to earn someone's interest. It means allowing space for the other person to show up equally. There's also a quiet confidence that develops. You're no longer trying to impress or win someone over. You're simply being yourself and observing who aligns with that. This removes pressure from the connection. You're not forcing anything, and because of that, what remains feels more natural and genuine. At the same time, you become less afraid of losing people, not because you don't care, but because you understand that the wrong person leaving creates space for the right one to enter. You stop holding on to potential and start valuing reality. You're no longer attached to what could be, and instead focus on what actually is. Another important layer is emotional responsibility. When you choose yourself, you stop expecting others to fill emotional gaps within you. You take ownership of your happiness, your healing, and your sense of stability. This makes your relationships healthier because you're not depending on someone else to complete you. Instead, you're sharing your life with them, not building your identity around them. You also start asking better questions. Instead of, "Why doesn't he choose me?" you ask, "Is this the kind of behavior I want in my life?" That shift puts you back in control. It changes you from someone waiting for validation into someone making decisions based on standards. And here's something many people don't realize. The right person doesn't require you to abandon this mindset. You don't have to stop choosing yourself to keep someone who is right for you. In fact, the right person will respect it. They'll meet you with the same level of clarity and effort. There won't be confusion about intentions because both of you are aligned in what you want. It's also worth understanding that choosing yourself is not a one-time decision. It's something you practice daily. Every time you walk away from disrespect, every time you refuse to settle, every time you prioritize your peace over temporary attention, you reinforce that mindset. Over time, it becomes who you are. You may still feel attraction to people who aren't right for you. That doesn't disappear overnight. But the difference is, you don't act on it in the same way. You acknowledge the feeling without letting it control your decisions. That's emotional maturity. And perhaps the most freeing part of all this is that you stop taking things personally. If someone doesn't choose you, it doesn't automatically mean something is wrong with you. It simply means they're not aligned with you. Not every connection is meant to work, and that's okay. When you truly accept that, rejection stops feeling like a loss and starts feeling like redirection. In the end, choosing yourself is about living with intention. It's about creating a life where you are not constantly chasing validation, attention, or love. Instead, you build a foundation within yourself that makes you steady, confident, and clear. From that place, relationships become something you enjoy, not something you depend on to feel whole. And that's where real freedom and real connection begin. This isn't about finding the perfect man, it's about becoming someone who no longer accepts confusion, inconsistency, or half-hearted effort. When you truly know your worth, you stop chasing attention and start choosing what aligns with your standards. The right man won't make you question where you stand. He will show you clearly and consistently. And once you reach that place within yourself, you don't wait to be chosen anymore. You become the one who decides, with confidence and peace, who is worthy of your time, your energy, and your heart.